What is up, everyone? It's actually been a pretty rough week if you are a fan of wrestling or a fan of rap or a fan of activism. As always mentioned before, I kind of really don't like to specify certain people's deaths because in order to do that, I would have to not ignore other deaths, but it always welcomes a question of, well, what about so and so's death? What about this person's death? What about that person's death? And I'm just like, I'd rather not have that kind of, backlash or whatever. But I will say, to those who have lost, someone special in their lives, rest in peace to them. And I am indeed prioritizing that because of the recent deaths that happened this past week. Speaking of that, also, being a native Louisianian, I know how messed up it is to deal with hurricanes. So my heart does indeed go out to the people of Florida, even though my political side is basically screaming, "Don't support them. They the ones who got Trump in office in the first place." No, that's not what this is. It's it is very much like my heart just because like at the end of the day we're still people, and you could be my worst enemy, but I wouldn't want anything to actually happen to you. I would just want you to sort of like realize that what you're doing, if you were my enemy, right, I would just want you to realize that what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is like, I'm probably not even harming you, but I would never wish harm upon you. It's always about the lesson being learned, not revenge for me, until it is about revenge, but you had to be a pretty terrible person for that. So yeah, like, I mean, just there's people but yeah, it's like I say, because I'm from Louisiana. So it's like, hurricanes kind of get, like hurricanes and storms and just water in general. It just feels like water in general kind of just, when it comes to storms and things, it's just, I've known people who've lost things. I myself have lost things. So it's just, it's hard to recover from. So I hope that they do. Speaking of Louisiana, speaking of me being from Louisiana, if not this past week, had it been like at least maybe about a good 2 weeks ago or something. Um, like because I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I just want to bring up that I love my hometown. I really do. I have nothing but outright respect for it. And why ain't you back over there? It's because I want to come back to Baton Rouge a successful person so I can help. Baton Rouge is like, for all of the stuff that goes on in that city, both good and bad. There is a pretty bad rep over there, and I hate to be incapable and powerless to at least try to make things better. So one of the big things I always wanted to do is one of the big reasons why I want to be so successful. Uh, I made a video maybe about a good year and a half ago or something, basically saying what I would do if I had access to like $1 billion, and most of it will go to my state, my community, where I'm from, because a lot of the core problems over there is due to poverty. You know, like rampant poverty, like and you have like races that are in charge of things, so they see they segregate the areas by skin color and by economic class, and they say the poor people and the people of color should not get things, whereas the economically successful people should. So it's like, in order for me to say that I love my hometown, I would have to just completely bring to attention the bad things that happen over there as well as the good things, because we got like a lot of talented people come from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we really just don't bring up that often. So there's that. There was a story that came from Baton Rouge a while ago, and like I feel like me bringing it back, like it felt like it sort of disappeared as quickly as it showed up, but like I feel like that's just because there's a calm before the storm type of moment here, and I feel like this story is going to ultimately become a bigger thing down the line, and I want to just go ahead and bring attention to it right now. Now, it's weird when you actually know the person. Like, it's weird when you actually like I knew about this project before it even happened. Like I used to go to church with the guy who did this project, and because I respect him, um, I'm not going to bring, I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to really bring that up, but there is a discussion. There should be a discussion about religion when it comes to, I want to say, younger people, and the reason why is because the story goes like this. Apparently, there was uh, an event that was taking place in the form of a field trip for, I'm assuming, high schoolers and middle schoolers. I didn't really read that far into it, but it was dubbed Career Day, and it was apparently stuff that wasn't career oriented, and at some point there was they were divided by gender, which would have made it a bit challenging for the trans people involved, and the 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 female had to attend this lecture where they were sort of told stories about certain people forgiving folks who abused and or assaulted them, whereas the men had to apparently do a whole bunch of push-ups and rap battles, and it was just like one big old, I mean, I don't think there was any careers involved in this, but the event was ultimately in some form religious. It was like it had religious undertones to it, and obviously somebody took to the internet and expressed their grievances about this event. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, once again, like I say, I know the guy who um who has the organization that may have been responsible for this, and because I don't think that he wanted this specifically, but I haven't spoken to the guy in years, and I'm a little ashamed of myself for that because he was a good dude, but it just doesn't feel like this would be like it feels like something might have gotten lost in translation, and ultimately it turned from what it was supposed to be to what it became. And the thing about religion, um, especially in the South, is a lot like it's a lot like anything else. Once there's a devotion to something, people tend to twist the meaning of what it is that they're devoted to, such as Constitution, for example. The Bible. I feel like the devotion to ancient text always leads to misunderstandings as to context and things like that, because it's really easy to say, "Oh, it meant this," or "it meant this." Like we do that, like even in fiction, even in like fiction culture, like entertainment, pop culture, things like that. Somebody could say something, and people can just, multiple people can hear the same thing and get it differently. And with religion, it's no different, because religion is like you read one thing and you can interpret it multiple ways, and that's what I felt like this event was. I felt like what happened was that like there was like a lot of cooks there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, a lot of people that were helping to organize this project, and there was a lot of ideas being thrown out there, and I'm guessing some person was just like, let's just do it, and then they did, and they turned it into what it was, and I feel like there was a bit of a mistake there, because there should have been someone there to just sort of like point out that there will be people who will probably not be okay with this sort of thing. I feel like it's just like more along the lines of you know some people are not gonna be converted when it comes to religion, and I think that that's really something that we need to talk about. I feel like what religion initially was supposed to be was it was supposed to just be something that motivates you to do good. And I feel like later on down the line, people started turning religion into something that you have to be converted into in order to be a good person. And it's like it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be, well, hold on. I didn't know that was there. It shouldn't be that. It should be that if it motivates you to be a decent person, it should only motivate. It should you shouldn't try to push it on people because some people just won't be converted, especially because in this day and age, being converted into a religion is kind of similar to how you would do it with the cult, and the challenge is what's a religion and what's a cult. You know what I'm saying? Like how is religion different from a cult? And I feel like it's just the push of you got to join this thing because this thing will make you whole again. It'll solve all your problems. It'll make you feel better, and that's almost never the case because I think the thing that kind of got me in out of the I think the thing that got me out of the religion thing was ultimately a lot of the promises was after you die you're going to be happy, but you can't kill yourself though. And I was going through depression at the time, so it's like you mean to tell me that if I become a Christian I have to wait until I die to be happy? Mm-mm. That's no. Especially because like you can't just talk to people who died and ask them what their afterlife is like. You know what I mean? You can't be like, "Hey, is your death better since you've been, since you gave your life to Christ?" You can't do that. People will say all day, "Yes, you can," because you can speak to you can speak to them, but there's no proven fact on that. I think another thing too was that like I started seeing. I think another thing that like kind of got me out of the religion high because once you're raised in the South, if if you're black, they're trying to get you in there from childhood. I was going to church from like 13 until like I think 19, and the only like I was getting picked on by the other kids. That was one of the big reasons why I didn't like church. It was I was getting picked on by the other kids, and I got rejected by two girls that I had a crush on, and I was like, I really don't see much of a reason to be here. It's not fun for me no more. It's basically high school, but about God. But they do try to indoctrinate you, kind of. They try to put you in, and it was too many factors to get me off of it. I mean, I still do believe that there is a God in heaven. I do believe that there is a heaven. I do believe that my whole thing is that like when it comes to science, I do the whole science and religion thing. So I think the big thing is that like for every unanswerable question out there, that could be God until proven otherwise. You know, so it's like we don't know until we know, and for all we know, that could be the case. But until it's proven otherwise, I'm open to the idea of it being God. You know, God could be like God's a variable at this point. He's the X in the equation of existence. Existence. Get it? This is a long video and I apologize, but I really do feel like we do need to have a conversation about religion though, because not everybody is going to be converted, and there's a deception as to how people get converted. Like there's always these little teen gatherings that are advertised as having absolutely nothing to do with religion. Almost like religion implications is just wiped out of the description of the event, and then you go there and it's like boom, religion. And it's like I'm all up for now. Me personally, I'm all up for going to I'm all up for going to an event for like obviously people in my age group, a gaming event so to speak. But it's like the moment that you start saying are you a believer, I mean it's like I'm out, bro. you know like you could be Christian, and you could be religious and host religious events and not try to convert people, because I mean it just some people have had bad experiences with religion, and nothing you can say can change their mind. That at that point it sounds less like a religious thing and more like let's try to brainwash people and control them, and that's not the thing to do. Especially because like There's so much stuff that goes into it, man. This really is. It's like there's brainwashing, there's manipulation, there's the gaslighting, there's and then there's the fact that religion as an entirety has all this influence. It has a whole bunch of influence and power, and yet for all of the influence and power that religion has, especially in America, where's the church sponsored homeless shelters? Where's the church funded clinics? Like there's mega churches out here that make millions of dollars. And you could act like Jesus Christ healed sick people. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ was breaking bread with the poor and the outcasted. You know, I mean, like you can't have a place that feeds poor people. You know, call it bread breaking with Jesus or something. All that power, all that influence, all that money, and yet there's still people out here suffering. At some point, I mean, like if you're gonna come, I feel like if you're gonna try to, if your religion is about converting people, then you can't just brainwash them into it. You gotta, I mean, at least some people, you gotta have to help some people out. Like if you want me to be a Christian, you're gonna have to give me a home. I'm talking, give me a home and I ain't gotta pay for nothing. It's like, here, take of my hand this deed to your new house. And I would be like, thanks. You know what? I think Jesus is a pretty okay guy. He's been dead for a couple of years, but he got me this house. So you're saying that so you're saying that in order for you have to, your faith has to be bought? Yes. Yes. I mean, Jesus Christ did a lot more than just make speeches did things. God did more than make speeches. God did things. You can't be, like, I mean, like, what are you? Are you a overpriced motivational speaker, or are you somebody who's genuinely trying to help the public? This video was long and I apologize. Love and peace and happiness to everyone out there, and yeah, be easy.